back. We're episode 2. I hope you all enjoyed and missed me thoroughly, because I missed you. Okay, I have such a fun episode planned. I had a less fun episode planned, and then my week spiraled out of control, and I decided I didn't want to talk about it anymore. So we completely changed, and now I have something different planned for you guys. Today we're going to be talking about my fear of blood and music theory. So, welcome back. Thank you to everyone who watched last week. I do appreciate you guys. We had such a bigger turnout than I expected, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you to everyone that followed, that engaged, who liked the post, who did the extra credit. So many people did the extra credit, and I read those. I read the DMs. Like, I don't know if y'all know this, but, like, we're a 2-person team. So, the person that's getting the Instagram DMs is me. If you have something to say, you can, like, DM the Instagram, and I read those. And I do take what you guys have to say. So, like, the extra credit, if you did it, one of the questions was, like, what's something that you want to learn about? And there were so many things that people wrote, and I'm writing them into lesson plans. So, like, I do take those into account. Thank you for leaving them. Also, about the extra credit, sorry, I kind of stiffed you guys. Part of it, like, it didn't work. I didn't want to put, like, actual content in there because what if it didn't work? And it didn't. The link, like, didn't work for a hot minute, and then I fixed it, and then it did work, so it should all work now. Google had to, like, make me go through a verification process, all sorts of fun stuff, but it should work now. Also, someone else said that they, like, wanted to, like, read about other things that I've talked about. I'm gonna try to, like, find sources about, like, what I'm talking about, because when I cover a subject, I'm gonna, like, touch very lightly on them. Like, I'm not gonna go in depth, and you'll see what I'm talking about today, because a lot of, like, the concepts I'm talking about can get more complicated, but I'm just, like, base layer covering it enough to understand it. So I'm gonna try to, like, find links to what I'm talking about, so if, like, you're particularly interested in something that I'm talking about, you can look it up too. Also, I started an Amazon storefront, and I am not one of those people that's gonna be like, buy this thing, you need it now. No. I'm not like that. I hate when people do it to me, like when influencers are like, I'm obsessed with this thing. Like, no, you're not. But I am gonna talk about stuff that I like. For example, I can't pick things up today. This book, which I am going to talk about, but, like, if you want this exact book, it's linked in my Amazon storefront. And, like, I recommend this, and I like it. I'm going to talk about why I like it. So if you want the exact one, it's in the Amazon storefront. And if you're going to buy it anyway, do it through my Amazon storefront, please. But I have some clothes linked in there. I have people ask me, like, what, like, makeup I use. I have that linked in there. I have all sorts of stuff. I have, like, stuff that I use to, like, talk about anxiety, just things. Go look it up. It's in the profile, like, the links. If you, like, go to the Not Responsible profile and click on links, it'll be listed there. There's also, like, my Instagram, Zach's Instagram, the Peach Wine Instagram. I'll talk about that too. All right, I'm gonna be so straight up with you guys. I've had a horrible week, and my horrible week started because I had to get routine lab work done on Tuesday, and I don't understand why my body cannot tell the difference between getting routine lab work done and being hunted for sport, because I have, like, an Apple Watch, and it'll track my heart rate. And my heart rate usually sits at, like, a resting of, like, 65-ish, like, on average. On Tuesday, I woke up, and it was at 80, 85, 90 all day long. And then from this blood work took 9 minutes. 9 minutes of my life. And my heart rate went from 80 to 140 for 9 minutes, right? Oh my gosh. I'm sitting in my roommate's car because I can't drive after I get blood work done. I'm sitting in my roommate's car, and the 4-minute drive to LabCorp, you would have thought I was in the bullet train on my way to the Hunger Games, strategizing with that Woody guy about how to win in the arena. No, I'm just going to LabCorp, which I do every 4 months, but my body can't tell the difference. Like, my roommate is trying to talk to me, and I'm, like, I can't talk. I'm having a full-on panic attack. I don't understand why I do that. If anybody has had a fear of needles and gotten over it, let me know. It ruined my entire day, and later come to find out it ruined my entire life. Not really. I'm being dramatic. But my top 4 fears of all time, number 1's always going to rank on commitment. I don't understand why that scares me so much, but it does. Needles, sharks, which is ironic because I'm a dive master, and then spiders. I don't understand why those things freak me out. They just do. If you've ever gotten over one of those fears, let me know, because I would love any tips. My fear of needles started because when I was in 10th grade, I went on Accutane. And for those of you who haven't been on this horrible drug, I actually shouldn't describe it as horrible because it did a lot of great things for me. But being on it's horrible. I went on it for 9 months, and if you've ever been on it, you know that you have to get blood work done every month to make sure that it's not messing up your liver enzymes or something. And then if you're a girl, you also have to get pregnancy tested. So they had to take blood every month. And the first time I went, I was in 10th grade. I was sitting there with my mom, and, like, no one was expecting this. So I'm sitting there, and halfway through, she's doing the thing. I go quiet and completely white. Like, I lose all my color in my face. And they're done, and we're walking out, and immediately I just start bawling my eyes out. I know that if I start crying randomly, I'm about to faint. And my mom is paying, and then all you hear is, I hit the concrete. I swear to God. Every time now after I do that, and I did that for 9 months straight. After about month, 5 or 6, I kind of got a hold of it, and they were like, oh, maybe she should just stay seated. So I could pass out in the chair. And now I have to get blood work done every 4 months. And it's the worst day of my entire life. I have learned that I need to yap in order to stay conscious. Who would have known? But that's where we are. The rest of Tuesday was horrible. I don't understand what it is, because even after I'm done the blood work, it freaks me out for, the rest of my day. And then it was just a trickle-down effect. I don't even understand. We're at Saturday right now, and I'm still freaked out by it. Anyway, here we are. We're alive. I have been on the struggle bus since then. And I realize now that it is because I got a visit from an aunt that I have a love-hate relationship with. And as a PCOS girly, I hope and I pray for my period every month. And I'm like, please just come. And then when it comes, I'm like, I think God put me on the strongest soldiers list, and he has made a mistake, because I don't belong on that list. So, as of right now, I am so caffeinated, it's not funny. And do you ever, have a Celsius and you have to do that little prayer? But when you crack it open and you're like, Lord, I know you're listening. If you don't hear anything else from me today, hear this one. Please let this can of Celsius give me a positive attitude, a creative mind, and some energy, and not explosive diarrhea. Because sometimes, we mix it up a little bit. And today I really can't afford the latter option. For the love of you, amen. That's where I'm at today. I'm not even kidding. as I was sipping on my Celsius, I was listening to worship music, and I was like, God, pull through today. Please don't let me fail. And by fail, I mean, don't let this Celsius make me fail. Okay. Now into the actual lesson plan I have. Yeah, the actual lesson plan. Fun fact about me, I am a music junkie. I've always been into music. I can play 7 musical instruments. I have always loved music. And actually, music is kind of in my name a little bit. So I'm going to drop some fun facts on you guys. And, okay, don't even get mad at me for what I'm about to say, because in this podcast, we're going to be talking about a lot of, like, art and art theory and where it came from. And a lot of art was inspired by religion. And I am a Catholic girly, but we're going to talk about all sorts of religions. So don't, like, hear religion and then immediately tune out, because I'm not going to be here and preach at you, but we're going to learn some fun things. And also, like, learning about religions is really cool. So just hear me out. Anyway, so when you're a Catholic, when you're 13, which is way too young, like, I think it's way too young. Anyway, when you're 13 and you're Catholic, you get to choose if you want to stay in the religion. So when you're born, you get baptized, and that's by your parents if your parents are religious. And then you grow up in the church. And when you turn 13, you get to choose whether you want to stay in the church or not. If you choose to stay, you go through this process called confirmation. And I say it's too young because, like, I know a lot of, like, my friends just did it to make their parents happy. I'm very glad my parents, like, made me go through it. But I know a lot of people that were like, I did it because I was 13. I didn't really have a choice. But when you choose to stay in the church, you get to choose a person that, like, an adult that's already been through this process to sponsor you, kind of like AA. And then you also choose a saint. And I know that this expression, like, gets thrown around, like, oh, that person's a saint or whatever. What actually is a saint? A saint is a person in the Catholic Church that has lived an extraordinary life for others, and you have to have been responsible for 2 miracles, either in your life or after death. And then you pick this person when you're getting confirmed, and you adapt their name. So when also saints, after, like, you go through the process of becoming a saint, you get assigned hobbies, professions, whatever, and that's the patron saint of. So, like, you're responsible for looking over these people. So when you're a Catholic, you can, like, look to so many different people, and then you can also go to a person who is directly responsible for whatever you are praying about, which is kind of cool. So when I was going through, I chose Saint Cecilia. So I adapted her name into mine. So not legally. Some people do legally. I didn't. It's kind of a little extra to change your name legally. But, like, under God, I'm Grace Kathleen Cecilia Burns. I know, it's kind of a mouthful. But Saint Cecilia is the patron saint of music, musicians, instrument makers, singers, and poets, maybe? Yeah, so, and my sponsor was my music teacher. So, I love music. That's kind of my thing. Saint Cecilia was also, like, really cool. Like, if you're ever interested in learning about it, I'm going to link stuff to her exactly because, like, crazy. And the, like, saints in general are just kind of crazy. But, fun fact about her, somebody, I don't exactly remember who, made a statue of her to put in her cathedral in Rome, and that statue inspired the entire Baroque era of art. And Baroque art is a style of art that is popularized in the 17th and 18th century in Europe, and it basically uses movement in your art. So, like, before, like, you ever seen those movies where it's like a king and queen are getting their pictures painted and they're like, stay still, and then they're always talking, and then the artist is like and just throws the paintbrush all dramatic. Baroque era incorporates the movement into the painting or statue or whatever. A lot of, like, not Michelangelo, he was a sculptor, right? Painter? I don't remember. Whoever the sculptor was, he uses Baroque styles, which I think is pretty cool. Anyway, today we're talking music theory. Music theory is so complicated and crazy, and it starts very basic and goes on from there. Today, we are only covering the very basics. We're going to start with notes. So a note is one singular sound played on some sort of instrument. Insert the staff. The little squiggly thing that you're going to see, that is called your clef. There are two clefs. There's your treble clef and your bass clef. It doesn't always work this way, but it's easy to conceptualize. Think if you're playing a piano, the treble clef is your... This is my right hand, but you're going to see it as my left hand. The treble clef is your right hand. That usually gets the melody line. And then the bass clef is your left hand. That usually gets the bass line. Bass line is more harmony and, like, bass, obviously. And then the treble clef, you get your melodies. The treble clef is easier to learn when you're just starting out. So we're not even going to touch the bass clef today. In the treble clef, you have 5 lines, and then you have the spaces in between those lines. The pattern goes E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. And then it just keeps going from there, and it's the alphabet. On the lines, you have E, F. Not me checking my notes. I've been doing this since I've been 10. E, G, B, D, F. And there's an acronym for that, and it's every good boy does fine. Wherever you learn, it might be a little different, but whatever. And then in between, you got F-A-C-E, face. In the space, you see your face, and then every good boy does fine in the line. Honestly, I've never played an instrument that requires the bass clef, so I never learned it. Think like a piano. I know there's gonna be one, like, shown here. But you have your white keys, and then you have your black keys. Your black keys are half steps, and those can either be sharps or flats. And then the white keys are going to be neutrals. You have your scales. So next to your treble clef, there's going to be a couple things on your staff that indicate how the piece is supposed to sound. And sometimes you can get, like, these little crooked hashtags, and you can get these, like, little B's. Those are your sharps and flats. A C major scale, you are only using the white keys. But in a D major scale, for example, you use F sharp and C sharp. So for that scale in particular, you're just going to not touch the white F and C keys. So you can see, like, next to the treble clef, there are the two sharps on the corresponding note. Is this all making sense? Does that make sense? A little bit? Okay. The other thing that you're going to see at the beginning of your line, you can call it a line, is your time signature. This is really important because it's going to tell you how to count your music. And this is going to be something that we talk about a lot. The reason that we're going over this right now is because I'm going to talk about music a lot, and music kind of has its own language, which is what I'm briefing you guys on right now. And lyrics are different. Lyrics is like annotating poetry, like in high school. Oh yeah, we're going back to high school. But in music, we're going to be using this kind of verbiage from now on because we are learning and evolving and growing. Stay with me. The most common time signature that you'll see is 4/4. What the time signatures mean. The top number is how many beats per measure. A measure is going to be like a set of notes. The top number is how many beats there are in the measure. The bottom number is what note gets a full beat. I know it's kind of confusing. But this is called common time because they use it the most. What it's going to sound like is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. No, that's a waltz. Cut that. It's going to be 1, 2, 1. Grace, lock in. That's what it's going to sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll hear people count 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. It's personal preference. That's your common time. The other one that you'll hear is 3/4. That's a waltz. If someone says like the dance, the waltz, that's the 1 and a 2 and a 3. 1 and a 2 and a 3. Or that one's a little bit different. It would be like 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then there's the dance that goes behind it. We're going to do a whole nother lesson on dance. Don't even worry. Don't worry. All right. In the notes. So you can do like crazy variety of notes, but they have to stay within your measure. I can already hear the like extra credit being like, what were you talking about? Made no sense whatsoever. If you have a little circle, that's a whole note. That means you use the whole measure. So if it's common time, a whole note is going to be 4 beats. So it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? A half note means you're going to use half the measure. So it would be 1, 2, 1, 2 in one measure. Also, this is going to sound dumb, but when you're playing music, there's 2 options. You can be playing or you cannot. When you're not playing, that's called a rest. And the rests have their own sign. So like the little upside down top hat, that means you're going to be quiet for 4 beats. The little regular side top hat, that means you're going to be quiet for half the measure. The quarter note is 1, 2, 3, 4, counting all the way. The little like squiggly thing, that means you're going to be quiet for 1 beat. And then I'm not even going to try to do the 8th and the 16th note. You can just envision it. They get smaller. I'm going to mess it up and confuse everyone if I try. So, let's practice. We're going to use a 4 beat. Oh, there's another note in here. If you see a dot next to a note, this is probably going to confuse everyone. If you see a dot next to a note, it means you're going to add half the value of the note that comes before it. Whoa. So if you see a half note with a dot, that means you're going to have 3 beats. Whoa. Because a half note has too many. 2 beats. Half of 2 is 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. Right? So if you see a whole note with a dot, how many beats are we going to hold for? 6. Because a whole note has 4 beats. Half of 4 is 2. 4 plus 2 is 6. It gets kind of tricky. Like when you're saying it like that, it sounds really simple. It sounds simple, but like when you're reading it, the little dots get confusing. So, as you will see, posted above, we got 3 quarter notes and a quarter rest. So, if you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to go do, do, do. Be quiet. If you move the rest, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, do, do, do. You guys don't need me to do the third one. You just move the rest. You know what I mean. if you're going to go and add your whole note, your half and whole notes, if you got 1, 2, 3, 4, do, right? You guys don't need me to do the rest. It makes sense. I'm not even going to ask you if it makes sense because I'm not going to sing it. You already know. Chords. Chords are fun because a chord is a combination of notes to make a harmony. A harmony is when you combine 2 or more notes to have a sound. I don't know a better way to describe that for you. The most basic chord you can have is a triad chord. Don't think about chords like a guitar yet. If you can play the guitar, you're going to confuse everyone. I don't know a better way to describe it. Think about it on a piano, because the piano, you can easily visualize it. When you're playing on a guitar, you have the frets and the strings, and it gets a little confusing. A triad chord means you have 3 notes, a root note, and then 2 harmonizing notes on it. Usually, going, like, envision you have your hand, and each hand is laying on 5 notes, one next to another. You're going to play these 3 notes, like your thumb, middle finger, pinky. So, say, Drake. Let's learn what you all have been singing for the last year. If you're trying to strike a chord, and it's probably... Why can't I think of the melody line? Do, 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 do. What's an A minor chord? So, if you're trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor. An A minor, actually, when I found this out, it fit in perfectly. Because an A minor chord is A, that's your root note, followed by C, and then E. So you got your A, your C, and your E. So as you can see, does that make sense a little bit more? If your thumb is on the A, B, C, D, E, put these 3 down. Yeah. I think that's where I'm going to stop. Where are we at? 30 minutes? Perfect. Okay. If you've made it this far, thanks. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. All the links to stuff that I've talked about are going to be listed below in the description. Go check it out. Do your extra credit. I promise I do have content in there this week. Do the extra credit. That's your homework. And I'm going to be posting other links so that if this specifically interests you, you can look in more to it. And let me know, because if you guys like this, I'll talk about it more. You know? All right. Thanks, guys. Should I do the little clicky thing again?